Being yourself is empowering. When you stop trying to fit into someone else's version of you, you really unlock a more confident and more energized version of yourself. In today's video, I'm going to explore the theme of authenticity and how it will help you show up as your best self every single day by making your everyday interactions easier, helping you to build better and stronger relationships, and to ultimately help you find the path in your life that is for you. Being authentic can actually help you feel more energized in the long run. When you start showing up as who you really are compared to what others may expect of you or what version of yourself others may have, you'll find that you can actually move through life with a bit more ease, and you'll find your everyday interactions with people and you'll find everyday situations a lot more energizing and a lot more easier to manage. If you're somebody that finds social interactions a little bit draining, or you find that in certain situations you exhibit signs of social anxiety, this ultimately comes down to you being unable to show up as your true and authentic self because you might be thinking a little bit more about your own behaviors and your own reactions and interactions with those around you. When you start to nitpick and think a little bit more about your own behaviors and actions, you may find that you fall into a cycle of overthinking who you are and overthinking how you show up compared to someone else that may find the same situation a little bit more relaxing. You may find that they are actually more confident because they're showing up as who they actually want to. It's actually very exhausting to try to fit into other people's needs and other people's version of you, and you may find that certain social interactions actually drain you. This may be because you're finding that you're having to second guess what you're doing. You might have to even alter your interaction and your reaction to certain things. Now, when it comes to showing up as your most authentic self, this doesn't mean that you ignore or avoid certain cultural norms or that you start to be, egotistical or rude to those around you. It simply means that you feel comfortable expressing who you are, sharing your passions, your interests, and sharing your thoughts on the things that you like, but also being accepting of those around you and the things that they like and the way that they are. It's the difference between sharing your skills and your capabilities and your passions rather than hiding these things because you have a fear of perhaps being judged for your differences, or you have a fear of how these may be perceived by those around you. If you're somebody that's watching this and you struggle to show up as who you truly are, you have to remember that there are many reasons why this might be the case, and the underlying reason is very personal to who you are and the things that you experience in your life. For example, some people might actually find that they exhibit people pleasing tendencies, so they actually think more about the other person in the interaction or think about how the other person is feeling as to how they might be feeling or what their true opinions, values, and needs are. You may also find that you're on the side where you have a fear of being judged or how you're perceived by somebody, and this may actually stop you or hinder you from sharing your own opinions, your own passions, and you may actually struggle to show up as your true self, and you may hide that away, and you might find that you kind of dim this down a little bit for the other person. One of the biggest indicators that you are showing up as your most true and authentic self is knowing that despite what's happening around you and the trends that might exist in society or on social media, you're actually able to make decisions based on who you are and the things that work for you and the things that you ultimately enjoy. I personally really like to follow trends and understand how things are changing in society, and this is because I like trying new things, and I find that trying new things keeps things really fresh and novel to me, and I'm somebody that really enjoys that. However, I'm really mindful that as I get older, I'm actually learning more about what I enjoy and who I want to be as a person, and following different trends and trying them out has helped me to learn about who I am and what things work and what things don't in my life. For example, when it comes to working out or figuring out what kind of healthy habits I enjoy, I've tried lots of different kinds of exercises and fitness regimes. So I've tried things like Pilates and yoga. I very much enjoy spin classes. I've done running, and I've done different kinds of strength training, whether that's lifting weights in the gym or whether that's doing free weights at home. I find that by being somebody that is open to novel experiences and trying something new, I've ultimately figured out the things that I enjoy and the things that actually work for me. I personally know that strength training is very important and I do have it as part of my routine sometimes. But I also really, really enjoy playing team sports such as badminton. And I've been doing that for the last couple of months and I really enjoyed that side of it. I personally also really, really enjoy running. I really try to make time for that in the week and I make sure that I always have running on my schedule somewhere because I have a love-hate relationship with it. I know that sometimes my legs really hurt, or it's kind of like the weather's rubbish in the UK, or there's lots of reasons why I don't want to go for a run. But I know that once I've done a run, it feels so good and I feel so energized. And really, that's through trial and error, just knowing that that is a thing that's for me, regardless of whether there's a run club or whether, other people are running around me or not. What being authentic and trying new things actually helps you to do is to build confidence in your own decision making, and it helps you to build confidence in the life that you're creating for yourself. It's truly as simple as doing what you enjoy and doing what works for you. Being authentic is your superpower, and showing up as who you truly are will help you to find space in this world when it comes to your relationships, your career, or any other passions or interests you might have. By being more of yourself, you'll attract more of that in your life, and you'll find that you're creating the life that you truly desire. One of the biggest areas that actually is improved when you start showing up more authentically is your relationships. When you show up as your most authentic self and who you truly are, not only does this show others and the world who you are, it helps them to also make a decision if they want to connect with you and if they resonate with you at any level. When you're able to show others your values, your interests, and your passions, it really helps others to understand if you're somebody that they want to connect with, and it helps you to build relationships from a place of authenticity, and you'll feel more comfortable and more energized in your relationships. One of the biggest positive outcomes of being more authentic in your relationships is you're actually able to build a lot more trust and vulnerability. And this is so important to building those long lasting and meaningful relationships and connections. One area of being authentic is actually being vulnerable. So, oftentimes, when we operate from a place of ego, we may blame those around us, we may find ourselves being very critical and unhappy. But when we're able to express some of the vulnerability and how we truly feel, we really help those around us to understand the things that we like and the things that work for us. And it helps you to also manage your expectations in your relationships and to help the other person understand who you are and what your needs are. One of the biggest ways that you can start to do this is to incorporate how you feel in certain situations rather than hiding this or only worrying about those around you. Oftentimes, we can feel quite scared and nervous when it comes to sharing how we're feeling, as this brings about feelings of vulnerability and kind of fear that our feelings and our experiences won't be perceived in a positive way. We may be avoiding that discomfort that comes when other people have to handle your bigger emotions or kind of any negative emotions that you might be feeling. If you are somebody that is trying to be more vulnerable and share your feelings a little bit more, it's always important to remember that this might not actually be received by the other person in the way that you intended. And not every single person will be a safe space for you to explore how you feel or to share what's happening in your life. When you do start to bring about a little bit more vulnerability in your relationships, you'll find that you're able to create a little bit more space so that the other person can understand how you're feeling, but also you create an atmosphere and environment where you're also able to receive their emotions and their feelings. And this is how you ultimately build that trust with somebody around you and build trust in your relationships when you're able to handle other people's emotions safely, but they're also able to handle and take on your emotions safely as well. One of the best relationships I personally had are when You allow space for the other person to be themselves, and that means their positives and negatives, and also when they allow you to do the same. Being more authentic and being more vulnerable in your personal relationships will also help you to navigate any interpersonal conflict in a better way, because you're able to experience more compassion for the other person, and hopefully they do that for you, rather than coming from a place of ego and coming from a place where you might want to blame the other person, or you might want to defend your own feelings and experiences. By being more vulnerable and by being more authentic, you create a safe space for each other, and this helps you to build trust, and it helps you to build a lot more understanding for those around you, and a lot more understanding for your own emotions, so that you can share these with others, and you both can work together to move past any interpersonal conflict you might be experiencing. Now, the final thing that being more authentic will allow you to do is actually bring you closer to your own personal life path. Being yourself is truly empowering. It's when you stop trying to show up as other people's version of you, and you stop showing up in a way that you think you should be doing. You find that you finally let go of the things that are expected of you, and you start to show up as you truly desire, and it brings you to a more confident and more energized version of yourself. We fear being judged by others, we stop doing things that we truly enjoy, and this might be our passions, our hobbies, and it might even be the type of career that we choose and go towards. When we shy away from being who we truly want to, and shy away from our interests and desires, what this truly does is it puts us on a different path than the one that's truly aligned with who we are and what we're meant to be doing in our life. When you are on a journey to figure out what your life is meant to look like for you, you'll find that you may come across people that are a lot more judgmental, and you may find that you fall away from relationships that don't align with the version of yourself that you're trying to become, which is the more authentic and more passionate and the more real version of you. When you really start showing up as who you are, you'll find that you are more energized, you have the right relationships, and then you can start to take action towards your life in a way that feels meaningful to you, in a way that is aligned with the things that truly bring you joy and the things that truly bring you happiness. When you are on this path and you're trying to create a different version of you, and you're trying to find the version of you that makes you happy, you'll find that you no longer resonate with perhaps your career, your relationships, and you may find that those around you also don't understand who you're becoming and who you actually want to be. In those kinds of situations, it's really important that you take space from people that are very judgmental or don't try to understand the changes that you're making and the version of you that is trying to become more aligned with who they truly are, as these kinds of people might truly hold you back and prevent you from going towards that path. And there'll kind of be these voices in your head that make you go against your intuition, and that make you go against the version of yourself that you're really, really urging yourself to go towards. I'm currently reading the book The Artist's Way, and I have only just started it, but one of the chapters speaks about something called crazy makers. And these are the people that bring about chaos when you are trying to make these changes in your life, and they bring about negative emotions, or they bring about kind of that judgment that really, makes you second guess the things that you want from your life, and they make you think a lot more about what you're doing, or they even physically prevent you from doing those things. It's really important that in these kinds of situations you spend time by yourself to figure out what you truly want, and when you are in the settings with certain individuals like them, that you create space and confidence for yourself to continue to take the actions that you desire, and you're not really moved by other people's opinions or other people's views on what you should be doing. You may feel kind of this early resistance as you step on this path to more authenticity, but it's really important to remember that this resistance you feel is only something you'll experience at the start of the journey rather than throughout the journey. In situations where you're feeling resistance constantly, that is when you know that you're actually on the wrong path and you're not doing the things that you're actually aligned with. When you're learning something new, that also brings about a certain kind of resistance because you don't understand how things work and you're kind of experimenting and trying things out, and that is the process of learning. And whilst that can feel difficult and it can quote unquote feel like resistance, it's not the same resistance as when you're doing something and you constantly procrastinate because it's not the right thing for you, or you continuously make mistakes because it's not aligned with who you are, or the skills that you already are born with and the skills that are just so easy for you to do. One of the ways that you can get closer to your life path is to think about the things that you did as a child. For example, I used to be quite creative, so I would paint and I would do lots of arts and crafts, and I used to buy lots of arts and crafts sets. And I do that as an adult, and I really do find peace and joy in painting and that side of my creativity. However, it's also really important for me to think about that I'm not trying to recreate who I was as a child right now. I'm just trying to get closer to the things that make me happy. And this may mean that these aren't the things that I want to be doing in the long run, but they are things that allow me to feel a sense of peace, or they allow me to explore and utilize my creativity so that when I'm doing my actual passions and my final pursuits, I have these tools in my toolbox that bring me back to who I am. They bring me back to my true self. I really like the phrase, life isn't about figuring out who you are, it's about creating who you are. It's about making the decisions for yourself on a daily basis that bring you closer to your more authentic self, and that bring you closer to your community, and that bring you closer to your true passions and your true skills. Being the most authentic version of yourself is a process of evolution, but it's also a lifelong journey. As you evolve and you grow, you'll change so much in your life, and it's really important that you allow space for yourself to do that, and you don't put yourself in a box, and you don't become rigid in the definitions that you have for yourself or the behaviors that you adopt. You can decide to change your life on any day that you desire through conscious effort and through really taking steps towards who you're becoming and who you want to be. One of the final things I want to say on this topic is to also to be mindful of the kinds of role models you have. Whilst you may find that certain role models that you have give you the right advice in that moment, you have to think about the impact that your actions and decisions will have, and whether you truly want the life that those actions and behaviors actually create. You may have certain role models that have found particular actions and behaviors that really work for them, and it's helping them create the life that they want. But when you think about it for your own life, they don't really work and they don't resonate. For me personally, I always think about, I really do enjoy this aspect of a person's character, or I'm really inspired by how somebody did this. But it's really important to bring it back to whether that particular thing works for you or whether it's going to have the same impact in your own life. It's really important to learn from others and to value other people's experiences. But at the end of the day, it's really important to come back to yourself and figure out who you are and what you want to create from your own life. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed this video in particular. This topic of authenticity has been quite interesting for me to explore personally. I'm somebody that really does enjoy novelty and trying new things, but I'm really mindful that those experiences that I bring about in my life don't have to be, the defining things of my character, and I'm allowed to change who I am on a daily basis, and I don't have to be rigid in who I am and the things that I enjoy. I can explore and try new things and really show up as my best self in a way that helps my community and it helps those around me. But at the end of the day, really brings me closer to my own life path, and it brings me closer to the things that make me feel happy and that make me feel a sense of peace and joy. Authenticity is really about developing who you are as a person, and it's really about bringing about your best character in the way that you can, and to not limit who you are and the things that you want from your life. Again, thank you so much for watching, and if you're interested in these kinds of videos, then leave a like on my channel and subscribe for my next video, which will be out hopefully some point next week.